The thrones circled her, hundreds of them, each one a symbol of conquest, inheritance, or surrender. Crystal seats grown from ancient worlds, obsidian platforms taken from fallen empires, floating crowns of light that represented dominion over entire star clusters. Every throne belonged to her. Empress Calith Veruin, sovereign of the Ascendant Concord, ruler of 47 allied realms. She turned toward me, silver robes whispering across the polished floor, eyes blazing with desperation. "Take them," she said. "Take them with me." I didn't bow. I didn't kneel. I shook my head. "No," I said. And in that moment, for the first time in centuries, the galaxy held its breath. "My name is Thomas Reed, human envoy, Terran Coalition. I wasn't a king. I wasn't even particularly important. I was chosen for this assignment because humans were considered difficult, unpredictable, emotional, resistant to absolute authority. The Concord thought sending a human would make this easier. They were wrong. The beginning of this story started years earlier, when the Ascendant Concord absorbed its final independent civilization. Not through war, through inevitability. Empress Calith's empire didn't conquer with fleets alone. It conquered with stability, with order, with the promise that surrender meant survival. Entire civilizations handed over their sovereignty willingly, trading their thrones for protection under her rule. It worked. Crime vanished. Star lanes stabilized. Hunger disappeared from entire sectors. And slowly, quietly, every throne became hers. By the time humanity encountered the Concord, Calith Veruin was less a ruler and more a constant, like gravity, immutable, necessary. Terran leadership feared her, but Calith didn't threaten us. She invited us. I met her for the first time in the Hall of Thrones. The room was impossibly vast, its ceiling lost in artificial sky. The thrones floated in concentric arcs, each radiating the faint energy signature of a conquered or allied world. Standing there felt like standing inside history itself. "You're smaller than I expected," she said, studying me. "I get that a lot," I replied. She smiled faintly. "You do not bow," she observed. "I represent humanity," I said. "We don't bow unless we choose to." That intrigued her. The middle of the story unfolded over months of negotiation and conversation. Calith invited me often, not for diplomacy alone, but for dialogue. She asked about Earth's fractured governments, our wars, our inefficiencies. "You waste so much energy disagreeing," she said once. "Why not unify?" "Because unity without choice is just obedience," I replied. She frowned. "Choice creates chaos." "Sometimes," I said, "but it also creates responsibility." She didn't dismiss that. Instead, she listened. She told me about her rise, how she inherited a fractured empire and unified it through sacrifice. How every throne she took was a burden, not a prize. "These worlds sleep peacefully because I stay awake," she said. "And when you're gone?" I asked. Her expression darkened. "That," she said quietly, "is why you are here." The truth emerged slowly. Calith was dying. Not dramatically, not imminently, but inevitably. A condition tied to her species' unique neural interface. What allowed her to synchronize governance across dozens of civilizations was also burning her out from the inside. She had decades at most. The Concord needed a successor. They wanted humanity. "Take the thrones," she said one night, standing among the floating seats. "Take them with me. Learn. Prepare. When I am gone, you will rule." I stared at her. "You want humans to inherit your empire?" "Yes," she said simply. "You resist absolute control. You question power. That makes you ideal. That makes us incompatible," I replied. She turned sharply. Billions depend on this system. And billions would become subjects without consent, I said. That's not stability. That's quiet tyranny. Her eyes flashed. You would let everything I built collapse? No, I said. I'd let it change. The tension between us grew. The Concord's advisors pressured me relentlessly. Humanity could gain unimaginable power, security, influence, immortality, and history. Earth's leaders were tempted. I wasn't. Why do you refuse? Caliph demanded one final time, voice-breaking. All the thrones are already mine. I offer them freely. I took a step closer, careful, deliberate. Because power that cannot be refused isn't a gift, I said. And humanity doesn't want to rule the galaxy. She stared at me, stunned. What do you want then? I met her gaze. To stand beside it, the ending began with silence. Then something unprecedented happened. Caliph dismissed the hall. The thrones dimmed, their energy fields lowering for the first time in centuries. She sat, truly sat, on the floor, the weight finally visible on her shoulders. I wanted someone strong enough to carry this, she whispered. And I want you strong enough to let it go, I said. She looked up at me. Without me, they will fracture, she said. Fear will return. Or choice will, I replied. And choice is messy, but it's alive. She laughed weakly. You humans terrify me. Good, I said. Means you're paying attention. The solution came not as an empire, but as a network. Instead of one throne, many councils. Instead of enforced unity, voluntary compacts. Humanity refused to rule, but helped design systems that allowed civilizations to govern themselves cooperatively. Caliph remained Empress, but no longer alone. When she finally stepped down years later, there was no single successor, only shared responsibility. On her last day in the Hall of Thrones, she stood beside me. All the thrones were mine, she said softly, and yet you are the only one who truly freed me from them. I smiled sadly. You never needed someone to take them, I said. You needed someone to say no. She reached out and took my hand. Promise me something, human. What's that? Never let humanity forget how dangerous it is to be offered everything. I nodded. We won't. When history recorded the fall of the Ascendant Concord, it didn't call it a collapse. It called it a transition. And humanity's role wasn't that of conqueror, heir, or emperor. We were remembered as the species that stood before infinite power and refused to take it.